Thank you again for staying with us this morning. Now we're going to look at the Economic Sustainability Plan, and it's my pleasure to welcome the Senior Special Assistant, Media and Publicity to the Vice President, Mr. Laolu Akonde, who joins us virtually. Good morning, Mr. Akonde.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Now, can you please, in a nutshell, just explain to us what this Economic Sustainability Plan is all about?
Thank you. In the advent of the COVID-19 pandemic and the impact that it had on the Nigerian economy, the president thought it fit to put together some kind of stimulus package to reboot the economy, as it were, and then asked the vice president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, to lead a team of ministers and a number of other relevant MDAs to come up with a plan that will keep the Nigerian economy going and ensure that the economy is sustained and remains sustainable and a sustainable part of growth despite the lockdowns that were occasioned during the pandemic. And so this was last year. And then, of course, the plan was approved to have an infusion of about 2.3 trillion naira into the Nigerian economy. And I can tell you that, as at a couple weeks back, the 500 billion, which was supposed to be the budgeted part of that total 2.3 trillion, has already been infused into the Nigerian economy. And we have saved and created altogether about 1.5 million jobs, just because of this program of the Economic Sustainability Plan. And of course, when the economy went into a recession, we were able to exit because the president had thought it fit to have this plan in place. So in a nutshell, the ESP was the response of the president to deal with the economic fallout of the pandemic.
The Economic Sustainability Plan was approved in June last year, Mr. Akonde. And this is July 17, 1 year and almost a month after. And it's interestingly, it was supposed to be a 12-month plan. Without doing much calculation, how well would you say we have been able to implement that plan? Or maybe it didn't take off in June, even though it was approved in June last year?
Well, yeah, of course, it was intended to be a 1-year plan, but of course, we have no reason to suddenly cut off its implementation. And like I said, now there are two tracks to the funding of the program. The first part is the one that the federal government we use appropriated funds, and we budgeted about 500 billion for that. And then the other part is made up of concessionary funding, CBN financial facilities, And I made the point that already in terms of the funding of the program, the 500 billion that was meant to come out of the budget has already been released at a time when we have not made the kind of revenues that we normally would have made or desired. Our government has managed to release the total complement of the budgetary funding, and I did say that we have saved 1.5 million jobs and created. We have saved and created 1.5 million jobs in the process. We have implemented substantial aspect of the plan, and many of the other aspects are also in progress. So yes, it's ongoing, as it were. And I think, while we have seen that there is considerable room for improvement, we have done quite a bit of the work so far, and the impact is out there for everybody to see.
Well, I don't know how significant that impact would be, Mr. Akonde. So you would do something that you normally do, which is to release the information about the progress that you usually make from time to time. I think you used to do it once monthly. I don't know how far about that one. But, you know, part of the NESP funding, you've talked about the 500 billion naira from a special FGN accounts. There was supposed to be a 1.1 trillion naira release from the CBN in the form of structured lending, 334 billion naira from external and bilateral multilateral sources, and 302.9 billion from other funding sources. The question one would want to ask is, you know, how far so far, and how do we measure the progress? Because given the realities that people have to contend with every day, they'll be wondering, where is the infusion?
Thank you, my brother. So let's just look at the overall picture. We have the Survivor Fund, for instance, we call it the MSME Survivor Fund, which the plan put in place, understanding the significant role that MSMEs play in our development of the economy and the growth of the economy. So we have saved in that sector, more than 1 million jobs already. And how did we do this? So we have, for instance, what we call the payroll support program. Now, what the payroll support program does is to identify a few of the sectors in the economy that were directly impacted by the lockdown. For instance, hotels, private schools, transportation, and artisans, who couldn't make an income. So we said that for some of the industries like hotels and hospitality, tourism industries, we have paid their salaries for 3 months. The government paid the salary so that the employers don't have to fire people. We've done that for about 500,000 people as at now. 500,000 people, Nigerians, have received either 30,000 monthly or 50,000 naira monthly for a period of 3 months. We still possibly going to do more in that aspect. So that's the payroll support. We also have the artisans track and the transport track. Now, when you put it together, it comes to about another 300 to 400,000 that have also received one-time grants. Then we have another category for people who have MSMEs, regardless of whatever it is that you are doing. If you qualify as an MSME, you get a one-time grant of 50,000. We intend to do about 100,000 of that. We've done about 50,000. Now, let's move away to another sector. Look at what we have done for states. The 36 state government and FCT have received 50 billion, to support their programs in their state, whatever it is. The airline industry, have received over 2.8 billion naira in the process. We have enumerated over 6 million new farmers, mostly, to get structured support we eventually give them trucks, equipment, fertilizers, yield stuff for their farming. And the president also recently approved additional supply of fertilizer for another 1 million farmers. We have we're making progress on the social housing front, where we intend to build a couple 100,000 houses for low-income earning Nigerians. The CBN has already made about 200 billion available for the construction of all those houses across the country. I think we have about 20 state governments that have given land, to do that. We have had meetings with cement manufacturers. The vice president, presided over a party where we talked with Dangote, we talked with Boa Cement and Lafarge, and they've agreed to supply at very discounted prices, cement for those houses to commence work. And we also have the solar connections, where we are going to connect about 5 million homes across the country. We started in Jangefe, in Jigawa. So we have quite a number of all of these things that have already started and quite a bit of impact. But I must concede that there is so much room, there's so much more room for improvement. And we are committed, the president and the vice president, are committed to ensuring that we are able to touch as many lives as possible going forward.
Okay, Mr. Akonde, COVID-19 came along, did its own damage, and then on top of that, the happenings of November 2020 also put more people on the job market. So you had your work cut out. But my question right now is, how do you select the beneficiaries of this scheme?
Thank you very much. So it's important for us that there is an objective process, that people can track easily and check out, which was the same model that we used when we started the social investment program. We ensured that this was something that everybody that falls into the catchment area as a beneficiary is able to very objectively assess the program and get the benefits. So what we did, for instance, for the payroll and generally for all the survivor fund under the MSMEs of the ESP, is to say that, look, if you have a business that has been impacted under because of the pandemic, we opened a website and which we tried to publicize as much as possible. So people registered and indicated interest. The same thing for the MSMEs that we are supporting, the transporters, the artisans. We opened a website and people applied. And in addition to that, we also identified some of the major trading associations, like the artisans, transporters. We try to engage with their local, their own associations. We engage with their leadership and made available opportunities for them to identify their own members who have been who can be beneficiaries. And so that way we are able to open it up for everybody, and then also go specifically to identify particular associations, particular unions, and we met with their leadership, and we sat together and figured out, a way to ensure that the people that we have in mind are the people that benefited. So essentially, it's a very open process, and we've had quite a lot of requests and people applying online and also offline. And that's why we are able to come out with figures and also encourage many of these beneficiaries to go online, to go and tell their stories. So I'm sure you must have come across some of the videos on Facebook, on Instagram, and other social media that people are recounting across this country what they have benefited. So to your question, yes, we try to make the process open, and we try to identify the targeted beneficiaries. But the truth of the matter is that we have to do more. There's no doubt about that. We have to do more, and we intend to do more going forward.
Okay, Mr. Akonde, you mentioned earlier about support for over 1 million farmers, but you also know what is happening to farmers in Nigeria right now. Is there any plan to protect them from what is going on now so that they can actually go to their farms and make use of all these incentives and interventions which you're providing for them?
Absolutely, and I must consider that the issue of security is very prime. Is a priority of the president and this administration, and why again we won't ignore that there are serious challenges. There are also diligent efforts almost on a daily basis to ensure that the security is improved. The federal government working with the state government, ensuring that we increase the number of boots on the ground, whether they be police or military, deploying the police and the military as quickly as possible to ensure that we get on top and we prevail in spite of some of these very serious security challenges. So, yeah, this is, as a matter of fact, the paramount, the prime challenge and focus of the administration is to continue to work assiduously to deal with these security challenges. And because we consider easily that, farmers will be affected if we don't make adequate arrangements to secure their going in and out of their farms. But I can assure you that, diligent efforts are being made to ensure that the security situation improves. And very soon, Nigerians will begin to see even further improvement in the security situation, by the grace of God.
Well, on that same agriculture bit, I happen to be passionate about it because, we've been talking about diversifying the Nigerian economy for decades. And it would seem like it's a problem that we can't get around. So this economic sustainability plan, for instance, for someone like me, is like a promise that government has to keep. For instance, under the real sector measures, the number one item there is agriculture and food security. And as you very well know, it's supposed to be a 12-month plan. But a crucial element of this particular point is that it will be done in partnership with state governments, the private sector, and individual citizens. Knowing that it'll be difficult, if not impossible, to get any land to do anything without the state governments, that partnership, I've had occasion to, in our interviewing a couple of governors over time, been asking, what's the partnership with the federal government in terms of this economic sustainability plan? It would seem like I'm not clear if there is any such conversation yet. So can you give us some understanding or explanation about what kind of partnership do we have with the state governments so that this brilliant economic sustainability plan can actually see the light of day and benefit people the way government wants it?
Yeah, thank you, Hayo. By the way, I must give you the credit for always asking the questions about how the state and the federal government will work together. It's one very important thing that you stress, and it's very important because, without that kind of collaboration, there isn't much that can be done. The state's governors are the ones that really hold the land in trust for the people under our constitution. The land essentially belongs to the state, especially for farming, and it's the governors that hold it in trust. So we have a very consistent approach in trying to develop consensus with state governors and using the auspices of the National Economic Council, presided over by the Vice President, that has all the 36 state governors and FCT minister as members. We try to develop this, this consensus, this collaboration. And so what we are doing is that we are also asking the state governments to make land available, fresh land available for cultivation. And then through the auspices of NALDA, a federal government agency, we are also providing resources for land clearing, so that when the land is provided, there's going to be land clearing by NALDA, so that the farmers can come in, and then we can bring in all the financing and all the support that we have packaged. And I can tell you that there is good progress. I know that a number of the states have also promised to give additional, I think we are asking for additional 20,000 hectares, in each state, so that we can have, increase in land cultivation. And there is good progress on that. And talking about private sector, the federal government is working through CBN funding as we speak. We have already enumerated 6 million farmers. I made a point. Out of that, about 3.6 million of them have passed the first stage of validation. Another 2.4 million have scaled the second stage of validation to access, some of these resources, financial resources, agri extension resources to support their work. And so we are working with big players in the agri sector like Olam, Wakot, Babagana in the north, and quite a bit of progress is being made, even in the area of the development of rural roads. The Minister of State for National Planning did report at the last minute meeting of the Economic Sustainability Committee that about over 3,000 federal roads, that will help, the farmers has already been completed by 65% completion. So there's quite a bit of progress that we are seeing in the collaboration between the federal government and the state government, and also even engagement of the private sector regarding the agri plan under the ESP.
How quickly that partnership will produce results is something that millions of people can't wait to have, because from that document that you released last year, the project is supposed to span the entire agricultural value chain, and part of this value chain is the livestock, value chain. I remember, I think it was the vice president at some point, speculating that the livestock value chain alone in Nigeria is something in the region of 31 trillion naira value or so. And consequently, I think was the reason for which the National Livestock Transformation Plan was released and was come up with. And there's a lot of controversy around that. So I'm just wondering how far with that, because there were those who were talking about it being Ruga or no Ruga, and then there is the National Livestock Transformation Plan, and it just seems to have gone under. It's not only one ethnic group in Nigeria that is into livestock farming, that I know for certain. So what kind of conversation are we having with the various state governments as well, especially concerning grazing reserves? Many of them existed way back, in Nigeria's history. About more than 400, grazing reserves existed in various parts of the north alone. I remember when we had a conversation with the Ondo State governor, he also said that there was a need for them to bring them back because they were abandoned. So same thing in Oyo State. So what's the progress concerning the National Livestock Transformation Plan, or is it dead?
Is absolutely alive. So the first point to make on the National Livestock Transformation Plan is that there is indeed, in this country, there's a consensus. In the National Economic Council, where you have the state governments and the federal governments, coming together, meeting on a monthly basis. There is a consensus regarding the National Livestock Transformation Plan. There's a consensus. I sit at the meetings every month and I see this. A committee was set up, by that council, presided over by the president, presided over by the vice president, and looked at the problems that are on the ground and came up with this plan, considered to by every governor in this country. So there is indeed a national consensus around that. And we know what the details are. Now, is it in progress? Yes, it's going on in a few states. Most states are going to join. Adamawa states, I think led the pack in the implementation. We even have support from a few European development partners and nation, I believe. They're also, helping us, in some aspect of funding the back end of the program. So I will say that while there are, quite a bit of controversial narratives out there, the truth of the matter is that, Nigerian governors and the federal government in the National Economic Council, have expressed and have shown and have demonstrated that there's consensus on this matter. And I have no doubt in my mind that going forward, we will see more fruits of that consensus. So it's not dead. It is actually work in progress. We have to do a little bit more funding, from the federal government to support it. And I believe very strongly that is going to happen as we go forward.
Okay, Mr. Akonde, all that's left for us now is to thank you and to, encourage you as much as we can to keep up this good work, because as we speak, there are graduates coming out of universities who will be looking for jobs and who are not going to find jobs. So your job is to help them start up their own little businesses. Mr. Laolu Akonde, Senior Special Assistant, Media and Publicity to the Vice President. Thank you very much for talking to us this morning.
Thank you very much. And let me say further that Nigeria should keep hope alive. This is a government that is working very hard, very, very hard at some of those problems. And we will prevail. We won't give up. There are tough challenges, no doubt about that. But Nigerians must know that the president and the vice president will continue to work hard and diligently to deliver for the Nigerian people.
Thank you very much, Mr. Akonde. Sunrise will return in just a moment. Do stay with us.